Life Audio.
Welcome to the Crosswalk Devotional. We're glad to have you listening with us. Today's topic is how God's rock-solid holiness attracts us to trust Him and rely on Him. We'll return with the devotional after a brief message from our sponsors. There is no rock like God. Written and read by Whitney Hopler. There is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. 1 Samuel 2:2 NIV. Before exploring the Royal Botanical Gardens in Ontario, Canada, one of the world's largest gardens, I looked forward to seeing the many flowers there. But I honestly wasn't excited about the rock garden. After all, I thought, how exciting could a bunch of rocks really be? Still, I didn't want to miss any part of the garden. So I walked into the rock garden with low expectations. What I saw there surprised me. The rocks were incredibly beautiful. Rocks in a wide variety of sizes and shapes stood as sentinels of strength. Smooth pebbles, jagged boulders, and lots of rocks in between contrasted well with the surrounding water, plants, and trees. Each rock drew me in with the beauty of its unique character and strength. The entire garden was supported by layers of strong rocks, arranged like terraces. By the end of my rock garden visit, I had learned to appreciate how beautiful rocks are, rather than taking them for granted. In 1 Samuel 2:2, the Bible calls God a rock when it declares God's unique holiness and strength. This verse points out that there is no one holy like God, and that God's strength is rock solid. These powerful truths about God's nature invite us to trust and rely on Him in our fallen world, which often feels unstable and uncertain. When we say God is holy, we recognize God's absolute purity and moral perfection. Holiness sets God apart from all creation, inspiring us to approach God with awe and reverence. God's holiness is not just an abstract concept. It's the foundation of His trustworthiness. Because God is holy, He can't lie. He remains eternally true, always offering us the security of His perfect love. The metaphor of God as a rock highlights His constant stability. Rocks symbolize permanence and resilience, which are qualities that reflect God's unchanging nature. Just as a rock withstands the forces of nature and remains unmovable, God remains constant in His love, promises, and presence. This assurance of God's faithfulness encourages us to place our trust in Him. Unlike human relationships or material possessions, which can come and go, God's reliability is eternal. We can always rely on God's strength. When we go through difficult times, we can turn to God, confident that He will support and sustain us. There is no one like God. Only God has the attributes necessary to be our perfect protector and guide. Unlike anyone else, God is omnipotent, all-powerful, omniscient, all-knowing, and omnipresent, present everywhere. God's infinite power assures us that no situation is beyond God's control. God's all-encompassing knowledge means He understands every detail of our lives and our needs. God's constant presence reassures us that we are never alone, no matter where we are or what we face. When we deal with weakness or doubt, God's unique holiness and strength attracts us. When we feel inadequate or overwhelmed, remembering that there is no one like God can draw us closer to Him. God's beautiful uniqueness assures us that God is fully capable of handling our burdens. This divine distinctiveness inspires us to trust and rely on God. We are attracted to God's holiness because it shines the light of hope in our fallen world, which is often overshadowed by the darkness of sin. God's perfect righteousness and integrity give us a strong moral compass, guiding us toward truth and justice. We can be confident that God will always act in our best interest, uncorrupted by any form of evil. We rely on God's rock-like presence because it guarantees us the security of His love and the stability of His help. Just as a rock stands firm against the weather, God's presence is a steadfast foundation in our lives. God's unchanging goodness is like a rock we can build our lives upon, with the confidence that God will never fail us or abandon us. No matter what happens in our lives, we can trust God to be there for us and rely on God's strength when we need help. So let's trust God more deeply, rely on God more fully, and celebrate the reality that there truly is no rock like our God. Intersecting faith and life. As you consider God's rock-solid holiness, reflect on these questions. How does understanding God's holiness influence your trust in Him? In what ways have you experienced God as a rock of strength in your life? What aspects of God's character make you feel secure and supported? How can you rely more on God's faithfulness in your daily life? What worries can you let go of in prayer and trust God to handle with the confidence that God is your rock? Further reading. Psalm 18:2, Isaiah 26:4, Psalm 62:6, Deuteronomy 32:4, Matthew 7:24 through 25.
The Crosswalk Devotional is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.